Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Thunder Alley here. Today we're going to be talking about some standouts versus the Carolina Panthers in Week 2's win, and we're going to preview the Pittsburgh Steelers because if you're anything like me, although yeah, the game was 2 days ago, my mind is already on the Steelers and trying to win that and go 3-0. But quickly, let's run through the standouts in Week 2 because there was a lot of them. And number one on my list is going to be Quentin Johnston. He was the 5th highest graded Charger on offense in this game. The other 4 were on the offensive line, who we'll get into in a little bit here. But Johnston, he struggled in year 1 with drop passes and separation struggles. After showing signs of improvement in the spring and summer, it carried over to live game action. Johnston had 2 touchdown catches, tying the amount he had in all of 2023. His first score went for 29 yards on Los Angeles' opening drive with J.C. Horn in coverage. Johnston made a great adjustment to the football, reaching out, of course, to bring it in. And Horn is a very good corner. He picked off Herbert later on in this game, like very shortly after this. So, I mean, it goes to show how talented he is. It was a perfect throw by Herbert. Great adjustment to go get that by Johnston. And then on his second touchdown, it was in the second quarter, Johnston was left wide open in the back of the end zone and a busted coverage by Carolina. I mean, that was about as embarrassing of red zone defense as you'll see by the Panthers. But Johnston, again, his second touchdown. I mean, the guy had nearly 40% of Herbert's passing output for the game on Sunday with 51. Herbert threw for like 140 yards or something like that. I don't have the stats pulled up right now, but it was very low. It was the lowest of Herbert's career so far, young career. So that was pretty crazy. Next on my list is J.K. Dobbins, and I'm not going in any particular order because if I was, I'd probably put Joe Alt number 1. We'll get into him in a little bit here. The offensive line, the defense, those were the most impressive things. Dobbins had another great game. He looks explosive. Johnson, 2 touchdowns. But why the Chargers are 2-0 and why they look like a legit playoff team is because of their defense and because of their offensive line. And truly, that's the 2 weakest things the Chargers have had in the Herbert era, of course, with Brandon Staley. Now they're getting that cleaned up. That's why Jim Harbaugh was the best thing that could have happened to this organization because he's known for his offensive lines. He's known for running the ball. Tough defenses, good culture. He's just the perfect coach here. But we will get into Harbaugh and Minter in a second here. But staying on topic, I have a tough time staying on topic, man. J.K. Dobbins finished the game with 17 carries for 131 yards and a touchdown. His speed and burst are back, which showed once again on his 43-yard touchdown. Dobbins last week, he had a couple of big runs that he wasn't able to score on, but in this one, he did. He juked Panthers safety Xavier Woods and outran the defense to the end zone, flipping beyond the goal line to celebrate finishing the run after he was caught from behind again on 2 big runs last week. Dobbins now has 266 yards through 2 weeks. Dobbins is the first Chargers running back in franchise history to have 100 yards or more in the first 2 games of the season. It's also the first time that a Los Angeles running back has run for more than 100 yards in back-to-back games, regardless of the time on the calendar, since Melvin Gordon in 2016. And then next up is Joe Alt in the offensive line. Alt handed Jadeveon Clowney the worst game grade, 30.5, of his 11-year NFL career. We saw last week, Alt went up against Max Crosby, didn't give up a sack, didn't give up a pressure, went up against Christian Wilkins, didn't give up a sack, didn't give up a pressure. I mean, Joe Alt is looking like a generational right tackle right now. I almost called him a left tackle. He was drafted as a left tackle, but he moved to the right side because of Rashawn Slater. Clearly, the Chargers have the best 1-2 tackle punch in football. I'm not even sure if it's close. I mean, those 2 guys have been unbelievably good through 2 weeks. All of the preseason, Alt dominated. I mean, wow, did the Chargers absolutely silence the critics, the haters that said to draft Malik Nabers. And don't get me wrong, Malik Nabers looks like he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in football. But when you have a tackle as good as Alt across from Slater, Justin Herbert has clean pockets. Yeah, Herbert hasn't thrown for the most yards in the world. He did have a pick, but I mean, once we start to see the Chargers be forced to throw the ball more against some of these top teams, top defenses in football, like Pittsburgh, for example, Kansas City, that's going to go a long way. Having an elite offensive line is way more valuable than having elite weapons because you can have all the elite weapons in the world, but if you can't block, you can't win. Remember the Chiefs when they had 34 points per game? They had Travis Kelce, they had Tyreek Hill, Cole Hardman, who they drafted with his speed. They had Sammy Watkins, and they didn't win anything, right? They didn't win the Super Bowl at least because they didn't have any pass protection. So, and I'll be the first to tell you guys, I did want Malik Neighbors. I understood Joe Alt because it's Jim Harbaugh. That's who he is. Like, there was no doubt in my mind he was going to do that. But I did say, like, hang on a second here. Malik Neighbors is there. Rome Odunze's there. The Chargers, they already have Rashawn Slater. I'm, like, thinking, are they going to, like, what's going on here? But, wow, I mean, through the first 2 weeks, the Chargers, they've had, in my opinion, the best offensive line. Yeah, sure, the first half against the Raiders wasn't great, right? It didn't look like it, but second half, dominant. And then this game against the Panthers, dominant. If they can control Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt this week in Pittsburgh on Sunday, I mean, man, are we going to start to have a serious discussion about what is going on. But in terms of week 2, of the 19 total players to get an offensive grade by PFF, a correlate of offensive linemen Joe Alt, Zion Johnson, Rashawn Slater, and Trey Pipkins III earned the top 4 marks. Alt led the way with an 87.2 overall grade, including a run blocking grade of 87.8. Johnson was next at 85.8 overall, followed by Slater, 82.7, and Pipkins, 79.3. And by the way, guys, you have Alt and Slater. They were the highest graded tackles of the week, and they play across from each other. So that's just how dominant they were. And yeah, sure, the Panthers, they don't have the best defensive line in the world. Derek Brown is out for the year, and they traded Brian Burns. But, I mean, this is still an NFL-level team coming off of an embarrassing week 1 game. Of course, they're now at home. I mean, you would have thought it would have gone a little bit better for Carolina, but it didn't. I mean, the Chargers absolutely just dominated the line of scrimmage in this game. And then Bradley Bozeman's 60.9 grade ranked 9th among all offensive players Sunday. Very, very good sign for the Chargers moving forward. I mean, Los Angeles, their offense ranks 2nd in the NFL with 395 rushing yards. On a more advanced level, the Bolts rank 5th overall in EPA per rush at 0.064. The Chargers, in the Herbert era, they haven't been able to run the ball. They haven't had a great offensive line. They haven't had a good defense. Their culture hasn't been the greatest as well. All of that seems to have changed. I mean, you have to be feeling as good as you have as a Charger fan in a very, very, very long time. I mean, again, this is all new to me because I started covering the Chargers 2 years ago. So to see this happening, I mean, that's why I'm super excited. I know a lot of people are like, pump the brakes. To me, I just can't control myself. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And now for the defense. Jesse Minter, he deserves a game ball. I don't think you can give a game ball to a coach, but if you could, I would do it. I mean, we're talking about the Chargers. They have given up just 13 points through 2 games. Minter did a phenomenal job once again in week 2 by completely shutting down the Panthers' offense. I get Carolina sucks, guys, but I mean, the Panthers, they only totaled 159 yards of offense, 84 yards passing, converted just 1 of 12 attempts on 3rd down. Los Angeles had 2 sacks and a takeaway. And, of course, Joey Bosa played in, 13 snaps at the top of my head, dealing with some injuries. So, I mean, the fact that – and also it wasn't even just Bosa. I mean, Mac didn't play in all the snaps. I think it was 32 at the top. Yeah, not even at the top of my head. It was 32 snaps. Bosa played in 14 snaps. You have 22 total Charger defenders playing in this game. So it wasn't like they were going all out. They were mixing in guys, keeping them fresh, and they still were this dominant defensively. And because of how well the Chargers defense played in this, Bryce Young is benched, and it's looking like his future in Carolina is over. So, I mean, this was an NFL-changing experience for the Chargers. I mean, wow, was it just dynamic. And we saw guys like A.J. Finley, Tony Jefferson, Troy Dye, you got Cam Hart. Like, there was a bunch of players that some Charger fans probably don't even know that got in this game. Elijah Molden was, without question, the best defensive player in this game, and he hasn't even been with the team for a month. He was traded for basically nothing, gets the start, dominates. You got Diane Henley, was amazing. Christian Fulton, amazing. Another pickup. Scott Matlock. There were so many good players in this game, guys. Bosa had a sack, and it was just a collective effort, man. There wasn't really one guy that stood up more than the other. It just everyone was playing very well.